Hello everybody. Last year I did a video describing my thoughts about SirenCon. I'd like to add some more stuff about SirenCon, about my thoughts, because so far this has been my second year of SirenCon, and there's been some changes that happened this year that has never happened before, and I'd like to try to add part of that if possible, but what I'd like to say is that for this year, there was one thing that I want to really point out that I think was probably the best decision so far that they've made for SirenCon for the time being right now. What they did this year that I'm very pleased with is that for the lineup sirens, the standard lineup sirens, they they made it so that they moved all the sirens off to the side, so that way whichever siren is going to sound off next, they put it like right in the center, or as close as they can to the center, to where most of the crowd, if not the whole crowd, could actually have a better chance of being able to see it sounding off and such like that, because it gives people a chance to get a good camera angle, kind of like this one. But the thing is that because they had what's called a skid steer, I had a hard time trying to remember what it was called, but I eventually figured it out. It's called a skid steer because it's on track that kind of orients like this, sorta. That's why they call it a skid steer. But anyways, that skid steer, that's that forklift that they used for lifting heavy objects. So that decision of what they did of this year for the skid steer and the way how they laid out the sirens, that was the best, at least in my opinion. And I really hope that next year they do the same thing, because how they did it this year, I'd say it worked, okay? I'd like to hear your thoughts on that, because that was probably the best thing that's ever happened so far, because it made it easier for everyone, including the staff members, to organize sirens, and it seems like they had a more accurate and, let's just say, a little bit better of a solid list of what sirens are expected to perform, and it seems like they did it better in orders. And I did talk about that last year too as a suggestion, and it seems like maybe they may have taken my suggestion. But even if they don't, like I said, I don't make the rules, okay? They do, not me. But what I could say is that the lineup sirens, it was a little bit better. It was definitely more accurate, should I say, of this year than last year. But yeah, that's basically the biggest thing I wanted to point out. But another thing about SirenCon, for this year, the weather was better. Weather's really nothing you can control, so it is what it is, But the weather was not too hot. It was pretty hot, but not too hot. And it wasn't like, the obvious part is obviously it wasn't raining, so having a nice, clear, sunny day for SirenCon is a good thing. For the mosquitoes, I would say they were probably the same as last year. I heard that in 2023, as in 2 years ago, they were horrible, 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 which I believe. But for this year, because I sprayed up really well, they didn't bother me as much. So, that's one thing I could say. But let's see, what's another thing? I've noticed that on Facebook, I saw a post on the SirenCon group that someone has a Wheelin' 3000 that is wondering if maybe they should bring it to SirenCon of next year. Now, because I myself also own a 3000, as you all know, of course, it's like, how should we do this? Should we, because the thing is, I like bringing my 3000 to SirenCon because everybody loves it. And I don't do it because I like to do it, but because everybody likes it. But if somebody has a Whelen 3000 of their own that they'd like to bring to SirenCon, I'm trying to wonder, you know, should I still bring mine anyways if they're going to be bringing theirs? Or what do you guys think of that? You know, I'd like to hear your opinion on that. Because when it comes to the thing I like, what I don't want to do is I don't want to be the person that brings the 3000 to SirenCon and not give people a chance to sound their 3000 at SirenCon just because I hog up the show for them. So, you know, that's the thing I don't want to have to do. But at the same time, you know, at the same time, I don't want to, you know, the thing I also don't want to do is I don't want to come to SirenCon empty-handed, because I like to bring something with me, especially if it's Siren related. But there are some other things that I also brought at SirenCon that came in handy for certain usage of other people. Like, for example, that pallet that I bring with me to SirenCon that is used to load my 3000. That came in handy for Caleb's 4000 because I told them that they could use my pallet to act as a base, a temporarily base for its siren head. And another thing that also came in handy is that when when they were sounding off that small B&M siren right after my siren sound off, they were using cinder blocks, the same kind of cinder blocks that I used for my Whelen, as a temporarily base to keep the siren sturdy in place as it was sounding off. So because there were some things that I brought with me to SirenCon that actually came in handy for others, should I say, that actually means a lot to me, because it means that I can make a difference. And, you know, I feel proud of that. So I'll be more than willing to do that again next year as well, whatever I bring that's necessary. But but yeah, as I was saying, if any of you have a 3000 that you're planning on bringing to SirenCon, I like to know how. I kind of like to know, like, does it fully work? Does it? Do you have an 864 controller, or what are your plans? You know, that's what I like to know, because I don't want to. Like I said, if I'm gonna bring mine next year, which I intend to, because that's. I can't resist that. Unless, well, actually, no. But the point is, yeah, I was going to say, once I bring it back, when I plan to bring it next year, I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to steal the show for somebody else who's also planning on bringing one either. Or even just any other Whelen with an 864 analog controller, just like me. Because, you know, when I found out that they were bringing a 4000 with an analog controller just like mine, I'd be like, how are we going to do this? But because they did it a bit differently than how I did it, that I'd say that was fine. You know, no problem with that. But what I just don't want to do is steal other people's opportunity of a chance to be able to have the opportunity to do what they want to do just because I've beat them to it. So, you know, I'd like to hear your thoughts on that, if you don't mind. So, if you could, please tell me. Let's see. What's another thing I like to say about SirenCon? Well, okay. So yeah, as I was saying about the lineup sirens, they don't really have a solid list for the mini sirens, and I guess maybe they don't need to, because it's probably just too much. Sorry. But the mini sirens, I had a hard time filming those because there was no way to tell, like, which one they were going to do next, or, like, which one, you know, which one's going to sound off next. And the other thing is because people huddle together too much around the small sirens, it makes it much more difficult. One thing that I noticed of this year that I don't have any recollection of ever happening is that when they were doing the mini sirens, we went ahead and passed the caution tape, which because everybody was doing and the staff was allowing it, it's like, okay, I might as well do the same thing too. So that's what I did. I wasn't really able to successfully capture anything of the mini sirens, except the hurricane. The mini hurricane I couldn't resist, but that one was probably the easiest one to film. The only problem is, and this one's actually on me, I actually, when I was filming the mini hurricane, my camera ran out of battery, so right when it was doing its last cycle, I kind of had to switch to my cell phone and film the remaining of the wind down as much while I still could before it stopped. And, you know, I just didn't think it was necessary for me to upload that, so sorry to be disappointed about that. But that mini hurricane that was brought at SirenCon, just in my point of view anyways, I still think that was the best mini siren that was made. So a mini Darien hurricane. I was able to see like a side-by-side comparison compared to the actual one and the smaller scale one together, and I just felt like, holy cow, that's amazing. So yeah, that was actually really cool. But yeah, the lineup sirens, I think they did much better than last year. The grand finale ones is another tricky one too, but I don't think it's as tricky as the mini sirens, because the mini ones are just like little, they're kind of like toys sort of. So maybe it's not like the main event, because the main event is really the big sirens, because that's really what we came for, is that. And of course the grand finale sirens, that's probably meant to be the best part. That's kind of what gets many siren enthusiasts all geeked up, especially ones that are not expecting ones to see. Like that one surprise siren was supposed to be that Soundmaster 125, but it was unfortunate as to they couldn't get it to sound off, but at least we got to see it, and I got to touch it, so I would say I'm proud of the fact that they at least still brought it, even if it couldn't be ran. But the Hurricanes, they were to run 3 Hurricanes at SirenCon. Wow. Unbelievable. Or, well, actually make that 4. 3.5, 4. Okay. But the point is, it's like, wow, so many hurricane sirens in one area. That's never happened before. So this year, I'd say was a pretty big specialty on that. We'll see what happens next year's for grand finale wise. But let me see. I'm just trying to look at. I'm looking at my computer screen because I'm looking at anything that's SirenCon related to see if there's anything else that I forgot that I'd like to add on here. So yeah, oh yeah, I'm just looking at one right now. I'm looking at the maps, and what I like to say is that because of the amount of people that showed up at SirenCon this year, we had a record breaker. Okay, there was more people that showed up than we've ever had before in the past, and even last year at SirenCon, the amount of people that we had last year, as far as I know, was even more than what we had the previous year, and so on and so on and so on. So it seems like every year that goes by, even though we've only had SirenCon for about 5 years now, I thought some people said it started in 2019, but I was told it started in 2020. But I don't know. But what I do know is that when it first started off, it was like a private event, and, you know, not as many people around, and things were very, very different, of course, but with the growth of people and the fact that when more people show up, that means there's more donations, and more donations means perhaps maybe more opportunities to hear more sirens or something like that, or whatever it is, or sponsorings and such like that. I don't do any of that stuff because I'm not one of the staff members. But speaking of staff members, there is something I kind of wanted to point out about the staff. I think in my point of view, it seems like with the amount of crowd, the staff the way how they do things, I'm actually shocked of how they try to manage what they could, because I felt like it was so overwhelming for them. It's like, how can they handle this? Because one thing is, the way how I see it, the more people that show up at SirenCon, the harder it is going to be for the staff members to manage what happens at SirenCon and such like that, and their responsibility and such like that. Now, I understand that these are all volunteers, but, you know, again, the amount of people that show up, I can't make the rules, but I'll just tell you this. Let's just say this. If I was like the one that was in charge of SirenCon, like it was actually up to me and I was the one that made the decisions, like kind of like Josh, for example, like if I was the one that made the decisions of SirenCon and it was all on me, I would actually have a specific amount of capacity of people that are allowed to show up at SirenCon instead of, you know, a free-for-all. Now, I'm not saying what Josh is doing is wrong, because he's fine, you know. He can do things his own way, you know. And if nobody likes it, they don't need to come. But I was saying, it's just the capacity of people, I think, is just too overwhelming. Now, not for me, because it's, you know, I don't have to worry about that. I'm not a staff member. Although I could say, I was thinking of maybe becoming one of the staff members. But then when I saw what they were going through, like all the complications and the stressful, and I even got to actually witness one of the staff members being so overwhelmed, I felt really bad for him, that I'm starting to wonder, like, you know what? Maybe I'm starting to have second thoughts about wanting to join into becoming a staff member. Now, I understand when you're a staff member, you could probably have more access to things that you could probably do, but at what cost, though? Like, because here's the other thing I also like to do. If I was going to be a staff member at SirenCon, there may be some sacrifices that I may have to make that I don't really want to do. Like, for example, like, a staff member can still film sirens, but because of all what they have to do or volunteered to do, they probably won't be able to do it as hardcore or as, let's just say, effectively as much as how I do it or some others. Now, maybe they can, but it seems too much for me. I can only do so many at once and such like that. But yeah, as I was saying, like, about the crowd, one thing that kind of really surprised me, and maybe this is actually something that's always been like this, but what I noticed, and going by the maps, it's called Weatherfront Shelter. That's that canopy that's near the lake that has some picnic tables. That's where you sign the Weaver and get your wristbands. The line of people waiting to get their wristbands and sign the Weaver was backed up all the way from there past the tree line of the narrow driveway that goes into the campground. So I couldn't even see the back of the line because it was too far past my field of vision. But the point is, because of how long that line was, I'll be like, oh my gosh. How are people going to be able to have a chance? And this was on the day of the event, not beforehand. So it's like, oh my gosh, how are people going to be able to enjoy the event if they're going to miss part of the action because they're waiting in line to get, you know, to do what they have to do? Because, you know, oh my gosh, it was scary. I mean, I was lucky enough that I didn't have to worry about that crap because I showed up a couple days earlier. I showed up on Thursday, but the Weaver signings didn't come till Friday, and I kind of wanted to... I didn't want to say I wanted to be the very first one, even though actually I was the first, but because I wanted to, let's just say, beat the crowd, so I don't have to worry about being stressed out waiting to get the wristband, that's what I did. But here's the other thing. Because of the amount of the people that were there, I'm going to probably take the assumption that it probably got to the point to where some of the people probably weren't able to get a wristband or even sign the Weaver because let's just say the staff ran out. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. You know, if any of you have any proof of that, you're more than welcome to share if you want to. Not that you have to, but what I believed may have happened is that because the amount of people, it's hard to tell who's going to actually show up, but maybe they might know, but it's kind of you never really know until it's actually happening. But the point is that yeah, it's just I don't think everybody was able to do what they had to do, even though that's what they were aiming for. But I wouldn't be surprised if there were any. But what I could say, one thing that I was very thankful for is that it seems like the crowd behaved themselves, because I didn't witness any mishaps or anything that was a problem. So yeah, like as far as like, you know, just breaking the rules and, you know, kind of let's just say like not doing what they're supposed to be doing. I think they did really well. The whole crowd, should I say, did well on actually obeying the rules. So I'm very thankful for that. That means a lot. Not only does it mean a lot to me, but it means a lot to the staff members. So for those of you that are watching this and you're planning on coming to SirenCon and you've never been there, I very highly encourage you do the same thing as well. Be on your best behavior, follow the rules, do what the staff tells you. They're not trying to be bossy and, you know, make you look bad, but it is their duty of what they volunteered, of their responsibility to ensure that everything goes smoothly for SirenCon, or at least in the best of their abilities. At least that's what I believe in, because I don't have enough knowledge about what it's like to be a staff member. But like I said, I don't think I want to be a staff member, because I think it's just too much for me. But that doesn't mean I'm going to make it difficult on them. I try to make it as simple as I can, at least for them, anyways. But I haven't heard any complaints so far, so that's a good thing. One thing I'd like to add, some of you Siren enthusiasts may be thinking, why can't I bring my MC controller with me to SirenCon along with my Wheelin' Siren head? Here's the thing. If I was to actually try to pull something like that off, due to the amount of limit of space that I have in my pickup truck, I can't really manage to do that, because what I can't do, here's what I have to bring with me. In order to bring the stuff at SirenCon, in the bed of my pickup truck, I have to carry my 3000 head, the controller, my lift stacker. That's that little mini forklift that I use to raise and lower my Siren when it's laying on the pallet. And then, and I also have to bring cinder blocks and the pallet for you know, the loading process, or the loading process. So because of all that combined, you know, there's really no room for the MC controller. The only really real way to actually pull this off would be to haul a trailer, but I don't really want to haul a trailer because it's a pain in the rump, and, you know, you gotta, like, do additional things, and all of this just for an MC controller. I'm just trying to wonder, like, is it really even necessary? Yes, I know the MC's rare, but it's just, I don't know if this is really, I'm just can't see how this is gonna work, or why I just think it's necessary to do all this extra work just for a freaking MC controller, even though, like I said, I know it's a rare specialty, and I know many of you are probably wanted to hear it, but I'll tell you what, what I could do, this won't be SirenCon related, maybe I'll actually make a video of me sounding off my MC using all 16 drivers. I'll describe more about the MC some other time, but just to avoid going off topic, I want to stay on SirenCon for the time being. But as far as SirenCon goes, I'd rather just bring my own Wheelin' controller with me instead. And plus, because the MC doesn't have that capability, or maybe does, but I just don't know how it works or what you use or how you plug it in to make the siren head rotate. And I also wouldn't try to do it on a federal signal controller. I'd rather do it on a wheel-in controller anyways, so that's another thing. But yeah, it's just yeah, I mean, again, I just rather stick with my own wheel-in, and, you know, obviously the 864 controller for that. But yeah, as I was saying, if any of you want to bring your 3000 to SirenCon or a wheel-in analog, you know, let me know, because what I don't want to have to do is hog up the show, but excuse me. But if any of you are not, then I'll do the same procedure next year, just like how I did of this year, if nobody else is bringing theirs. But if somebody is going to bring one, just like mine, you know, then we'll decide how we should do this, and then, you know, we'll just take it from there. So, yeah, because I definitely don't want to, I do want to try to share if possible, so... Yeah, I'll be more than willing to do that if any of you are thinking of doing that. But yeah, I think what I'll do is I'll just bring my 3000 next year, and then we'll see what happens, and then yeah. But let's see. I want to see if there's anything else I'd like to add. Let me take a look at this. Yeah, so I really hope that next year for SirenCon, they'll do the same procedure like how they did of this year, like using the skid steer and using the way how they lined up the sirens, like they had them all like off-centered or like towards like the background, like they would have all the lineup sirens like in the background, and the one that's sounding off at the moment, they would move that siren to the center and do it that way. Mine is one of the only sirens of SirenCon, not the only one, but one of the only ones that didn't require a skid steer, because mine is on a cart with big wheels, okay? And because of that, and because I kind of had to have cinder blocks chained to the cart, so that way the siren head doesn't tip over when it rotates, the process of like getting that started probably would take a little while. And because I didn't want to like take too much time, because when it comes to sounding off my siren, because I prefer to do all signals, unless somebody else is bringing their wheel in as well. If they're bringing a 864 controller just like mine, and they want to kind of do sort of like how I do, I don't want to hog up the show for them. But as I was saying, because the procedure takes too long, I wanted to have my siren already in position, and I was kind of thankful that the staff kind of allowed me to do that, because I only did it because I wanted to try to help them save time. I wanted to make it so that the only thing I have to do after my sound off is actually, you know, take the chains off my cinder blocks, and after I do that, I just move my siren head to the side quickly, because, you know, I want to try to be quick, so that way we can have a more chance of trying to get more sirens to sound off in time before we run out of time. Because unfortunately, we've had that happen this year with some of the grand finale sirens, you know, and there were some grand finale sirens that were supposed to be sounding off but didn't have the chance to. One of them was because time, and the other one was because it wasn't cooperating or something wasn't going right. So yeah, that's another factor. But yeah, you never know what happens. Anything can happen. But yeah, it's just, I just don't want it to be just because I'm the part of the problem by taking too darn long. Because I notice of all the sirens that sounded off at SirenCon, I apparently take the longest, and I apologize if I overdo it, but like I said, I do it that way specifically for a reason, because I want people to get to have the chance to get that full maximum of an opportunity of an old analog 3000 and all signals, and it gives them the chance to be able to experience that, because some people never get a chance to experience that. But if there's others that are bringing their own analog 3000s or 4000s or any other wheel in with a 864 controller, you know, that I'm fine with that too. I just eventually want to know like what their plans are or what they want to do, and then, you know, what can I do, or, well, I'll decide upon that, but I'll just, or the staff, should I say, but yeah, it's just, we'll see what happens, but yeah, I would like to know, if possible. But aside from that, I think, I'm just looking to see if there's anything else I want to add. Let's see. Centuries? No, I'm just looking. Yeah, I really, like I said, I just hope that next year, will be maybe as good as this year, if not better. Or it could be worse. You never know. Only time will tell. But, you know, we don't want to hope for the worst. You just, you know, you just kind of have to plan for anything that may be unexpected. So plan for that and hope for the best. You know, that's the only thing I can really tell you. But aside from that, though, there was one last thing I wanted to point out, but I forgot what it was. Give me a sec. SirenCon. No, it's not that one. I think, I don't know. I think I'm just going to wrap this up, but, yeah. Oh, yeah, here's what I wanted to say. If any of you want to share your thoughts about SirenCon, please do so. I'd like to hear your thoughts about SirenCon as well. What are your thoughts? You know, if you could come up with a video, or if any of you feel like you want to make a video of your thoughts about SirenCon, kind of like how I just did, please do. I like to hear your thoughts, or you can even just comment about it if you want. I like to hear your thoughts about SirenCon, so if any of you could, please do so. That would be fantastic. You know, we could all hear each other's thoughts and think of, you know, what we think, and then the staff can also review it, and then maybe, I don't know, it's up to them, but they could probably have a better chance of deciding of how things could be handled, or what kind of changes are going to be put in place. So yeah, if any of you want to share your thoughts, go for it. You know, I like to hear them too. But yeah, aside from that though, I think that's all I need to describe. Yeah. I just asked you to stay tuned for more videos I plan on posting for this year, because so far this year's been a fantastic year for me on filming sirens. This is a great year for me. So, and I've already got plans for 2026 as well, some of them. I'm not going to say them yet, but for this year, I've already got my planned places. And when I get Ben's 612, we plan to do that sometime in the fall season. I'll show you and tell you, and yeah, that's about it. That's all I could think of, but thank you all for watching.